for a Friday afternoon. I am Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever. Noon till, well, today whenever has a very specific time because I've got stuff I've got to do this afternoon. So we are going to we're going to end at 2. We're going to end at least at 2, maybe a little bit earlier. We will find out. But that doesn't mean I don't have a full show for you because I do. I've got a full show. Let's get the chat room up. Let's see here. Who do we got? Come on, come all. Join the chat room. Everybody is welcome. Grab your futons, your yoga mats, your beanbag chairs, whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable. Drag them on in. Join hands and form a soul circle of life. Here's what we do on this show. As I said, we do this show every single day, Monday through Friday at high noon. Oh, where's my chat room, people? Did the show not get... Hold on. Why can't I get the chat room up? Where's my chat room, people? Okay, here we go. Now they're filling in. All right. Very good to see you there, Taronda. Thank you. We got April. And by the way, April is the executive producer of today's show. Thank you to April. Let me say this about April as executive producer. April has been the executive producer of this show so frequently that when I go to change out the name of the executive producer, it suggests April 1st. That's pretty good. That lets me know. So thank you to April, the executive producer of today's show. The show is supported entirely by you, the God-fearing, salt-of-the-earth listener that I attract every single day here. Drop a little something in the Venmo, the Cash App, whatever that makes you move. If I make you move, what? That's the problem with this show, folks. Long-time stream viewers know this is a rant. This is a stream of consciousness. I don't know what I'm going to say next. It's just whatever, loads up on deck, gets into the chamber, and then boom, my big fat mouth fires it out. 2 hours of that. No breaks, no commercials, no songs, no nothing. Maybe some pregnant pauses. Maybe I got to let the dog in. That could happen. It'd be like, hey, the dog needs something. So I step away for a second. But I come right back and boom, we're firing on all pistons. Whoa. The word is cylinders. I got a busy day. I got a lot on my mind. What else do you need to know? What is the show about? Hot topics, current events, everything that's happening. Headlines. If they're barking about it on any of the cable news channels, I'm going to tell you why they're barking. I'm going to give you my 2 cents, and then we're going to move on. We don't spend too much time on any one issue. We don't get bogged down in politics. We don't get into the partisan weeds. Hate that. Oh, God, no thank you. I don't care if you're red or blue. It doesn't matter. Are you an American? All right. I don't even care. I don't care if you're American. You can be one of them illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants? Oh. Do you guys remember yesterday when I started the show and I said, I'm going to try and moderate my energy so that I don't seem so frantic and insane every day? Well, I've got to remind myself of that because I was just getting a little bit crazy. Anyway, it is a stream of consciousness about all of the day's news. We do it in 4 quarters. There's 4 quarters to this thing. The first quarter, we call it Erstwhile on This Day. That's where I take a look back at the events that have shaped our perception of this particular day in history. Then we move on to the second quarter. That's birthdays. We look at people who were born on this day. Then the third quarter is deaths. Who died on this day? Where are they going? We decide, heaven or hell. Then we move on to the fourth quarter, which is all of the other stuff. The hot topics, the current events, the what have you. Did you see what I just did there? What? I'm winded. I got up. I had to get up early today. I had a situation. It was a planned situation. I knew I was getting up early. It wasn't like, what? Now I'm up early. No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like, the roof caved in or anything. Was there anything that I want to share with you at the top of the show, or should we just jump right in? Hi, Jeff. Jeff's here. Jeff says, happy Friday, MFers. Liquid Lunch Friday. Enjoy it. April says I'm early today. That's because I had a really ball buster of an executive producer for today's show who absolutely demanded that I hit the ground running at high noon. Thank you, April. That'd be her. April's our producer. Also, let me put this up just in case any of you want to be producer on Monday. That's how it works. I'll just leave this up. All right, what do you say we get started with? Rob's here. Hi, Rob. Rob says you were taking care of situations. LOL. You know who that's from. Moving on. Gary's here. Hi, Gary. Let's say hi to Gary. I like to say hi to the people as they pop into the chat room. Leslie C, my girl here. Another one of my hardcore producers, Leslie. I gotta switch this over to the chat so I can see this. What do you say we get started, huh? I got a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff today. There's stuff like today I started out, I'm looking at today's rundown and I'm like, it seems a little, I don't know, frivolous. And then I took a different approach. I was like, frivolous? This is fun. This is a fun show. So without further ado, let's get started. It is the 17th day of November, year of our Lord 2023. That's 321 days deep into the year 2023. 44 days remain until the end of the year. So as we say around here, get them New Year's Eve plans started. Let's move forward into our first quarter of the show. We call this Erstwhile on this day. These are events that have occurred throughout history on this very day that I've cherry-picked. Look, it's not every event because a lot of stuff has happened on this day, but it's the stuff that I felt I could stream, I could rant on for a couple of seconds. So let's run through it on this day. In 1777, the United States of America becomes a thing. The Articles of Confederation are submitted to the states for ratification. On this day in 1977, good old US of A. On this day in 1800, 3 years later, the United States Congress holds its very first session in Washington, D.C. I wonder if that was a cluster F. Like, has Congress been a cluster F from the get-go, or is this just something of the last 100 years that we've been experiencing? On this day in 1858, the city of Denver, Colorado was founded. Happy birthday, Denver. On this day in 1894, H.H. Holmes, one of the first modern serial killers, is arrested in Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah, this dude, man. This dude, the white whatever this guy is. This guy. People didn't know about this guy till like 10 years ago when some dude wrote a book. Some dude wrote a book about H.H. Holmes. He was kind of a mythological figure in Chicago because he is considered the nation's first serial killer. And, that's one of the reasons why I consider Chicago to be the serial. I mean, I guess Los Angeles and New York have some high profile ones too. But for sheer pound for pound, Chicago in the Chicagoland area has produced some truly Hall of Fame serial killers, starting with H.H. Holmes. Remember what H.H. Holmes did? This was the guy who built like a mansion during the World's Fair. Like there was a World's Fair in Chicago. Like it's a big one. Like they always said, they had 1093 World's Fair or whatever it is. I don't know. It's somewhere, sometime back there. The White City, the World's Fair was called. And this dude, H.H. Holmes, I guess he fancied himself a dentist or something. So he opened up a dentist's office on the south side right there. What street is that on? What boulevard? What street? It's on, oh God, what street is H.H. Holmes old? I think it's like a post office now. But anyway, he built this mansion. He was a dentist and he lured people from the fair to his house, and he murdered them, and he tortured them, and he put them in walls, and it was just some of the most, oh God, horrible stuff. He was the first. South side of Chicago. We're proud of these things. He's a serial killer. The first real American serial killer, at least the one that we name, H.H. Holmes. Should have been more famous than Jack the Ripper. Well, it was way more effective than Jack the Ripper. But there's been this movie, Devil in the White City or something like that. That book, that's the book that everybody loved about H.H. Holmes. Scorsese's been trying to make it into a movie for years and years with DiCaprio. And, they're kind of stalled out on it. But I really want to see that movie. Some of the other great serial killers that the Chicagoland area has offered the world. Well, I mean, come on, obviously, right from the get-go, we can talk about Richard Speck and John Wayne Gacy. Those are two Hall of Famers. We've got lesser ones, too. We got a guy named Alton Coleman. Alton Coleman was running around killing people. He was killing people across multiple states, but he started in Chicago. They finally caught him in like the 80s. Then there was a bunch of other people. But even, we'll even go so far as to say we claim Dahmer. Why do we claim Dahmer? Because Dahmer's hunting grounds were the Chicago gay bars. That's why. And because he lived in Milwaukee, like 40 minutes outside of Chicago. God, Dahmer was hunting. I know he did a couple of Milwaukee, but for the most part, when Dahmer was working, he was working the Chicago gay bar scene. So yeah, we've got a rich history of serial killers there, and we're quite proud of it. Los Angeles does too. I know. But since H.H. Holmes is sort of recognized as the first and we claim him, the museum, the American Serial Killer Hall of Fame and Museum needs to be built there. somewhere in Chicago. On the lakefront, it'll be beautiful. Maybe in the spot that George Lucas was going to do the Star Wars Museum. Maybe we could use that for the Serial Killer Museum. That was on this day in 1894. H.H. Holmes finally arrested. He went on the run. They caught him in Massachusetts. On this day in 1903, the Russian Socialist Democratic Labor Party splits into two groups. This was the start of it all in Russia. This was when the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks all decided that they were two different things. Bolsheviks is Russian for majority. Mensheviks is Russian for minority. The Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks are the reason for the Russian Revolution, and which is why we got communism. Anyway, that all kicked off on this day when they looked at each other and went, "I don't like you. You're different. You're a Menshevik." And the other guy said, "Well, I don't like you. You're a Bolshevik." On this day in 1850, the United Nations Security Council did Security Council Resolution 89. This was in 1950, and this was the first time that the Palestinian question was adopted. On this day in 1950, the United Nations, they dug in. They rolled up their... What was the answer? Did they ever come up with an answer? 1950, they first asked the question, what should we do about Palestine? On this day in 1968, viewers of the Raiders and Jets football game in the eastern United States are denied the opportunity to watch its exciting finish when NBC broadcasts Heidi instead of the rest of the game. Now, this was a big deal because was it the Raiders? It was a crazy game. Everyone thought it was over, and then there was like a huge comeback, but NBC, it was a Sunday night. NBC had been promoting Heidi on Sunday night. You know about the little Swiss girl who yodels or something? I don't know what Heidi's about. I never saw Heidi. So they broke away. Like the game, it looked like it was over, and they're like, we're going to break away now, and we're going to show you Heidi. Well, like it was an incredible comeback, and it's like considered one of the great comebacks in history. And nobody saw it because NBC decided that Heidi was more important than NFL football. That's how little they thought of NFL football back in 1968. This is also the incident that is the reason that sporting events run over now. Like every time, like sporting event's supposed to end at 3, it's going to go to like 3:25 at least. That's because of this. They do not do that anymore because they recognize they missed one of the great moments in television sports with this early amazing comeback. On this day in 1973 in the Watergate scandal, this is the day that Richard Nixon uttered the phrase, "I am not a crook." It was on this day in 1973. He told a bunch of reporters in Orlando, "I am not a crook." On this day in 2003, Arnold Schwarzenegger begins his term as the governor in California. We all laughed. We were all like, yeah, that guy, he can't. And it turned out he could. He was good. People in California are like, yeah, Arnold was pretty good. Arnold was actually perfect for California because he was, kind of right wing and kind of left wing. Like he was right there in the middle. He's like a reasonable dude. He's like a reasonable, smart dude who's not filled with bitterness and hate. Right. So he's kind of like able to look at both sides. He wasn't bad. There's a good, that documentary on Arnold's pretty good. The one on Sly is better. Netflix has released a bunch of these. The one on Sly is better, I think. But the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, remember how we used to think Arnold was dumb? Do you remember that? Do you remember like in the 80s? Oh, big dumb Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was the joke. The dude is brilliant. The dude is absolutely brilliant. Judge a book by its cover, I guess. That was on this day in 2003. Schwarzenegger became governor. On this day in 2013, this, man. Holy cow. I remember this. I lived through this. I had just moved back to Chicago, and I was in my mom's living room. I was in my mom's living room watching the Bears game on this day. It was a Sunday. On this day in 2013, a rare late season tornado outbreak strikes the Midwest. Illinois and Indiana are most affected, with tornado reports as far north as lower Michigan. In all, around 6 dozen tornadoes touched down approximately, blah, blah, blah. Deadly, really deadly. Flattened the town of Washington, Illinois. Town of Washington, Illinois got completely flattened. I think Washington outside Decatur or Peoria, somewhere downstate. These storms came out of nowhere. We're not supposed to have tornadoes. We get tornadoes in the Chicago area. We get tornadoes in the Midwest. We get tornadoes when everybody gets tornadoes in the spring and maybe sometimes in the late summer. But November, it was like unseasonably warm, and then it got unseasonably cold, and then all of a sudden a rainstorm flew through, and it turned into like terrible tornadoes. Here's why I remember it. I want to show you this. I couldn't believe I found this. So I'm gonna bring this up. Excuse me. Here we go. Not the H.H. Holmes, not Arnold's birthday. Yeah. So hold on. So as I said, I had just moved back to Chicago, and I was sitting in my, because I moved back the week before Thanksgiving, and that was this. And I was sitting on my mom's couch, and it was bad. Like where we were, it was bad. Like the tornado sirens were going off, and we're south of the city. We're south of Chicago. We're right on the Indiana-Illinois border, and we're hearing these sirens going. We're like, oh my God, it's getting bad. And I'm watching the Bears game, right? And the Bears game, and I'm watching the Bears games. From me, the Bears game is 15 miles away. I'm watching this thing, and the weather looks fine, and everything looks good. Here, this was the famous, was it 2307? Yeah, I think it is. So this is actually when I decided that action needed to be taken. Here, hold on, let me turn this down. That's way too loud. Can't believe I found this. So this is the famous tornado Bears game. This is when a tornado came too close to Soldier Field, and they realized we don't know what to do with 80,000 people when a tornado comes through. So this was an interesting moment. Watch that play out live on TV. Here it is. This is the Ravens and the Bears. This is what happened as the Great Midwest tornado outbreak swept through the Southland of Chicago and Indiana.
The year, hit one through down at Miami as well. He's never missed on the road from beyond 50. From 52. The kick is good. How about that? 7 for 7 in his career on the road from beyond 50.
Oh, he do much better than that.
He's been working on, like last year, take the curve out of the football. That went straight the whole way.
10-0 Baltimore.
Isn't that kind of great? Like a younger Justin Tucker. I don't know how many years he was on the road, but there's 7 out of 7 on the road. That seems like sort of a minor accomplishment for Justin Tucker. It's like one of the great kickers in history. Anyway, here you go. They go to commercial break. They come back, and this is what we see watching the game.
Well, during that break, they just made an announcement, plus they put it up on the screen here for all to see, to please clear the stadium seating area. Gene Steratore is talking right now to Gary Slaughter, who is the NFL.
What people may not realize, well, I mean, you do if you've seen the games, but Soldier Field is on water. It's located right on the lakefront. And with these weather systems, it's the lake that draws these systems up. So when tornadoes start to form, they start to sort of get sucked towards the climate of this giant, massive body of water. So Soldier Field is in a pretty precarious place if one of these anomaly storms were to come up, and that's what we're seeing right here.
Observer up in the press box, and of course, there's also communication between Mr. Slaughter up in the press box here and the league headquarters back in New York. The players are still on the field.
Well, and the fans are not like running for the exits here. They're all sitting around because I think they're going, well, the players are still on the field. Why are we being asked to move out of our seats?
All right. Well, this goes on for a while. It was actually a 2-hour almost delay of the game. Now, in that meantime, in those 2 hours, I remember, I don't know why I did this, but my idea was, because we were in an area there were tornadoes around us. There was one in Frankfurt. They were coming towards us where we were like, okay, we got to get out of here. Or seek shelter. You know, it was seek shelter mode. The sirens right outside. You know, it's like, okay, we got to go. So what do? I said, Mom, get in the car. And we got in the car. I made my mom get in the car because I had just, at that point in my life, I was interested in the whole storm chaser thing. And I had learned that if you don't have if it's bad, if it's getting really bad, it's coming towards you, and you don't really have a great sort of place to hide, the best thing that you can do is just get as far away from it as you can. So we got in our car and we just drove in the opposite direction. I'm like, let's go. And we did that for about a half hour and it passed through. We came back, it missed us. It was good. But that was a scary day, man. It was on this day in 2013 that the big tornado outbreak, the late November, the tornado outbreak in Illinois, flat in the town of Washington. Bunch of other smaller towns as well. On this day in 2019, the first known case of COVID-19 is traced to a 55-year-old man who had visited a market in the Wuhan province of China. The very first case. Whatever happened to COVID? I have no idea. All right, let's now move into quarter two. That's going to do it for the first quarter. That is erstwhile on this day. Let's talk about people who are having birthdays. Buonam, buonam, buonam. They say it's their birthday. Born on this day, AD 9. Vespasian, Roman Empire, and inventor of the moped, probably. On this day, born in 1925, Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was born on this day. Inventor of AIDS awareness. Give it to him. Yeah, people really started to pay attention to AIDS when Rock Hudson got it. On this day in 1938, born unto this world. A guy who wrote a lot of songs. They're party clearing songs. Like, when you have a party and it's like 2 a.m. and you're ready for the party to be over because you want to go into your bedroom and go to bed, but there's still stragglers. That's when you would put on Gordon Lightfoot, right? You put on like just real maudlin, like sad music, get them out of here, or make them go to sleep, make them pass out so you can go to bed, or just make them leave. Gordon Lightfoot, born on this day in 1938. We celebrated a Gordon Lightfoot song just last week. I believe it was a week ago today. It was the anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. That's a Gordon Lightfoot song. All of his songs are kind of like that. That song's a banger, though. That song's good. Man, I last week last week was the anniversary of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So I was watching something on YouTube and my kid goes, "What are you watching?" I go, this is just something that happened on this day. And he starts watching it with me. And he's like, "So this happened," he's asking me questions. He's kind of interested because my kid likes history. And I'm like, yeah. And I go, "But," I go, "you got to hear a song that was written about it." So I made him listen to the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Now, it didn't start out good because the very first thing that he said was, "Oh, this is 6 minutes long." I go, "Yeah, it's a 6-minute song. It's a story. It's an entire novel and a song. You name me one novel you can read in 6 minutes." And so he listened to the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And he was like, "Yeah, that's cool," because he likes lyrics like I do. And he's like, "That's a cool story." He goes, "That's cool how he made that a song." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, good. That's the lesson. There you go. You move on. You can take stories. You can turn them into other things, whatever. Creative, right?" So we move on. I think nothing of it. Like 2 days later, I walk into the room and he's listening to the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald on his own. It's a victory. As I hipped him to something. All right. Gordon Lightfoot, born on this day in 1938. Born on this day in 1942. How about a master of the film works? How about Martin Scorsese, born on this day? The great Scorsese. All right. So, obviously, Martin Scorsese draft, because he's one of my favorites. One of my favorite directors. But we've done Martin Scorsese drafts. We've done them before. It's easy. Goodfellas, Gangs of New York, Wolf of Wall Street, Raging Bull, right? The Mean Streets, those ones? We know those ones. Well, Martin Scorsese, they're all. So I thought, he's very prolific as a filmmaker. And there are a lot of movies that don't rise to the level of a Raging Bull, but they're still amazing films. So here we go. Martin Scorsese's Also Ran's draft. That's right. These are films that Martin Scorsese made that are excellent. And honestly, if his name wasn't Martin Scorsese and his name was filmmaker Bob Jones or something, this would be an amazing resume. But for Martin Scorsese, these are just his B-sides. These are just the ones. First, we're going to draft number 1 off the board. Martin Scorsese Also Ran films. King of Comedy. Now, for me, King of Comedy actually rates second in the legit Martin Scorsese draft, but a lot of people haven't seen it, and I just rewatched it a couple of weeks ago. It's so good. King of Comedy, number 1. This is the Martin Scorsese Also Ran draft. Movies that are not the ones you first think of when you hear Martin Scorsese. Number 2 off the board, After Hours. Man, After Hours was crazy. I saw After Hours in the movies, like in the theater. I saw it. I didn't get it. I was only like 12. I was like, this is kind of wild and all kinds of grown-up stuff's going on. I didn't get it. And then I saw it like 10 years later, and I'm like, this movie's great. After Hours. If you've never seen it, it's Griffin Dunn, and I want to say maybe Rosanna Arquette. It's either Rebecca De Mornay or Rosanna Arquette. They're the same people. They come from the Hollywood Clone Factory. I don't know which one it is. It's good, though. It's just like a lost night in Los Angeles. Yeah, it's L.A. Well, yeah, After Hours. It's about a lost night. It's about what goes on in L.A. in the wee hours of the night, and it's pretty funny. It's a comedy. It's a Martin Scorsese comedy. Number 2 off the board, After Hours in the Martin Scorsese also ran draft. I'm going to include this next one as an also ran. Only because I don't think it comes to mind, but it is such a good movie. It is like for anyone else, it could be their tour de force, but for Martin Scorsese, it's an also ran. That's The Aviator. I love The Aviator. That's the Leonardo DiCaprio, Howard Hughes, Scorsese's film. Aviator, number 3. Number 4 off the board, Martin Scorsese's also ran draft. We are going with The Color of Money. That's right. The sequel to The Hustler, a movie Martin Scorsese didn't make, but he did make the sequel to The Great Hustler. Color of Money. Tom Cruise played Vince. Paul Newman played Fast Eddie. It was great. Color of Money. And number 5 in the Martin Scorsese also ran draft. We're going to go with a movie that predates most of his big hits. We're going to go back early 70s, but I mentioned this because it's curiosity, because it's interesting. I think it won an Oscar. I think it won something for something. I mean, I think it's a very well and highly regarded film. But it's better known, or it's lesser known as so the film is. Have you ever heard of the film Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore? Ellen Burstyn. I think she won the Oscar for it. I think that's it. I think she won the Oscar for Best Actress. The film is Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. It's about a woman who leaves her husband and goes off and, I don't know, becomes a waitress in Phoenix at a place called Mel's Diner. It has a coworker named Flo. I am not kidding. The very highly regarded film Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore is the basis for the really bad 70s sitcom Alice. So it's making the list. There you go. Did you know that? Did you know that Martin Scorsese is the origin story for Mel Sharples and Alice and Tommy and Flo and Vera? All right, that's the Martin Scorsese also ran draft. Films that don't first come to mind when you think of the great Martin Scorsese's, but they're just as good. King of Comedy is number 1. After Hours is number 2. The Aviator is 3. Color of Money comes in at 4. And 5, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Born on this day in 1944. Happy birthday, Danny DeVito. Frank Reynolds. I know, you could say Louis De Palma. I say Frank Reynolds. He's so funny. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was already really funny in its first season. And then when they made Danny DeVito a regular in season 2 as Frank Reynolds, oh my God. That Frank Reynolds might be one of the funniest characters in the history of television. I said it. Same with Charlie, though. Charlie might be one of the great kids. First of all, It's Always Sunny is one of the great shows in the history of television. Moving on. Born on this day in 1944, Danny DeVito. Also born on this day in 1944, Lorne Michaels. I have a complicated view of Lorne Michaels. I think Lorne Michaels, let's pretend Lorne Michaels has just died. When Lorne Michaels dies, everyone goes, oh, I mean, has there ever been anyone more important in comedy? I mean, and all of that might be true. All of those accolades might have some relevance to them. They might have some logic. I don't agree with it. I think that Lorne Michaels was incredibly important to comedy between the years 1975 and 1990. I don't think Lorne Michaels has been relevant as a great comedy mind since about 1990. It became a point with him where he became a factory and he started just cranking stuff out. Then he made really bad casting decisions look, I know hindsight is 2020. You can look back at all of the people who have auditioned for Saturday Night Live who Lorne Michaels said, I don't see it. I don't get it. Everyone from Dave Chappelle to Key and Peele to, Amy Schumer. I know you people don't like her, but she had a very successful sketch comedy show. She proved that she could do sketch comedy. I mean, I don't think Lorne Michaels has had a lick of comedic talent or energy or anything in 30 years. I think that he's just killing Saturday Night Live. I think he needs to go. I think there needs to be a new young producer. How cool would it be if I was just going to say maybe Tina Fey, but even her might be too old at this point. Does Tina Fey have a daughter? I don't know. Anyway, I just think Lorne Michaels is like, oh God, been killing comedy for the past 30 years. He may have defined it. He may have defined American comedy along with the likes of John Landis and Ivan Reitman in the 1980s. But man, he is just, get out of the way, Lorne Michaels, is what I'm trying to say. Get out of the freaking way. Happy birthday, though, to Lorne Michaels. Born on this day in 1944. Born on this day in 1948, Howard Dean. Howard Dean, remember, he was the great Democratic hope, and then he made a noise on stage, and we never heard from him again. Isn't he the guy that went, "We won," or something like that, like that, and then it was like, that's too much. We cannot have a politician who makes noise. Remember when we cared that much about the dignity of our politicians? They couldn't make noises. I mean, that was the people who voted for him. He made a noise, and the people who actually supported him went, "Yeah, nah, pass. He can't be making those noises and be president." Please. 1951, born on this day, one of the awesomest that guy actors of all time, Stephen Root. Stephen Root, I love anything Stephen Root is in. You tell me Stephen Root's in this, and I'm like, Stephen Root? Go look up Stephen Root right now. Google Stephen Root. You'll go, oh, that guy's awesome. He's awesome in everything. First time I saw Stephen Root was on news radio. He played Jimmy James, the station owner. Oh, he was crazy and fun. Then what else did Stephen Root do? Oh, man, Stephen Root has done everything. He's one of those that guy actors who just basically appears in everything. Man in the High Castle. If you've ever seen that, he was tremendous dramatically in The Man in the High Castle. Stephen Root, happy birthday. Love that guy. He's like the best. Born on this day in 1960, RuPaul. RuPaul, American drag queen, performer, actor, and singer. What's RuPaul's deal? Is RuPaul a gay man who performatively dresses as a woman? Or is RuPaul, I think that's what he is. I don't think RuPaul's a trans person. I don't think RuPaul, one of my closest friends and oldest friends was RuPaul's boss for a while. My friend ran a radio station in New York, or oversaw the station in New York, and RuPaul was the morning person. And my friend adores RuPaul. Like one of the most awesome people you'll ever meet. Just really nice, really good high energy, really fun. Happy birthday, RuPaul. That's all I know about RuPaul. That's it. Born on this day in 1960. Not really, like, I've never seen Drag Race. That doesn't appeal to me. It's not supposed to. It appeals to other people, and that's fine. That is fine. There are millions of channels on cable. Plenty of places on the internet that I can find entertainment for me. But yeah, she seems, he. RuPaul is a he. I am almost positive that RuPaul identifies as a he. He just dresses as a woman. Of course, Adam's got some kind of take on this. What is Adam's bad take on this, that I'm doing something wrong? What do you mean think? Does he appear to be a woman when not in drag? Oh, fuck you, dude. Seriously, just stop it, man. Just stop it. Every issue where Adam has to be the white knight, he's got to ride in and poke out some inconsistency. Jesus Christ, man. Intent is everything. Intent is everything. Is my intent to be a jerk? No, but yours is, when you are correcting McCorrecterson. This is what Adam does for me. He gets me going. I was feeling a little bit, thank you, Adam. Appreciate the boost. He's like one of them little 5-hour energy shots. Although we do got to do a Ranger podcast. I want to do a Ranger podcast for the new season starting in spring training. And I think Adam would be a good co-host for me. Because, oh, man, we're going to fight. It'll be good. I mean, but it'll be cool. It'll be the way James and I fight. Like James and I can say the worst things to each other. Well, within lines. James has crossed a line a time or two because he has no governor. But it's okay. I know he loves me, and he knows I love him. Same with Adam. Born on this day. Let's do another birthday. Let's celebrate somebody who I like. Somebody who I like a lot. I have... Hold on. Let me get down there and make sure we pull this up. There we go. That's my girl. All right. So I would like to show you somebody. All right. So boop, boop. Here we go. No, I got to share that. Sorry. Don't have a producer. All right. Well, I mean, I do. I have an executive producer, but these duties are far beneath her levels of. It's not her. She can delegate these kinds of things. Happy birthday to Leslie Bibb. You guys know who Leslie Bibb is? Nah, you don't know who Leslie Bibb is. You might recognize her. Like if you saw her, you'd go, oh yeah, I know her. Yeah. She's good in things. Leslie Bibb is an entirely forgettable actress. Except she's not. She's actually like, there's like something, there's an X factor there. And for years and years, I have been watching Leslie Bibb in amazing roles and going, what's holding her back? Why isn't she more famous? I know why. I know why she's more famous, or I know why she's not more famous. And she's not more famous because Leslie Bibb came from the Hollywood clone factory. That's right. I know you people are getting sick of hearing me talk about this, but it's a real thing. For every actor that plays a role, there is another, sometimes 5, 6, 7 other actors that could have played that exact same role because they're the exact same kind of actor. I used to see it in the 80s. Like a great example of it is it the combination of, who are these guys? Wait a second. The Quaid guy. Who was the handsome Quaid? The handsome Quaid, Dennis Quaid, Kurt Russell, Patrick Swayze. They're all the same actor. They are exact. Oh, you don't think Patrick Swayze could have played Snake Plissken in Escape from New York? Of course he could have. It would have looked exactly the same. Anyway, Hollywood Clone Factory's been around forever. Leslie Bibb came out of the Hollywood Clone Factory, and I have proof. Ladies and gentlemen, Leslie Bibb and Rachel McAdams are the exact same person. Tell me I'm wrong. These are two Hollywood clones. Here's what happened. They made Rachel Bibb. Look at this. That's Rachel Bibb on the left, and that is, oh no, I'm sorry. No, that's Leslie Bibb on the left. What difference does it make, right? That's Leslie Bibb on the left. That is Rachel McAdams on the right. They were both pumped out of the Hollywood Clone Factory. Leslie Bibb was the first. She was, Rachel McAdams is 2.0. She's Leslie Bibb 2.0. She's a little bit younger, like only like 3 years or something, 3 or 4 years. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me there isn't a Hollywood Clone Factory. Tell me that Leslie Bibb, born on this day in 1974, doesn't look exactly like her 2.0 model, Rachel McAdams. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me that all these coincidences that I see make me a lunatic. Go ahead. You tell me. But deny me that these two people, they're the same damn person. That's right. All right, we're going to stop sharing that. Happy birthday, Leslie Bibb. I think you're terrific, but obviously they've identified some kind of flaw in your system, and they redid your software, and they re-released you as Rachel McAdams. It's undeniable. Happy birthday, Leslie Bibb, born on this day in 1974. All right, who else is having a birthday today? Born on this day in 1978. Happy birthday, Rachel McAdams. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. They're identical. They're only 3 years apart, and they're born on the same day. I will go back to it again. I will go, because you people think I'm nuts. I ain't nuts. Hey, Byron, get me in some of your QAnon stuff. I'm telling you, this Hollywood Clone Factory thing, this could take off. Let's lean into it. Let's you and me, Byron. Let's be the guy, because Byron's on all the sites. Like Byron can start like putting these out there, and then suddenly it comes back to me, and now all of a sudden we got all these. And then what if we just did a crazy conspiracy? What if this turned into just crazy conspiracy shit that you guys here right now, I don't believe any of it, but the other people might think I do, which, might lighten the load on people like Leslie and April and Jeff and, the folks who tip. Yeah, but, just some new tip money might work, and we could have some fun with that. Look at these two. Look at these two, the birthday girls, both of them born on the exact same day. Leslie Bibb, not so famous. She had some flaws in her system. So they redesigned her and they re-released her as Rachel McAdams. And Rachel McAdams is, of course, a much bigger and more successful star. Happy birthday to both these lovely ladies. Rachel Bibb, I rest my case, Your Honor. All right, that's going to do it for birthdays. Let's move on to the deads. This is where we get to decide who lives and who dies. No, that's not how it plays. These are people who have already dead. Who've already dead. These people have already dead. Byron says, you can't handle my level of crazy. I'm not trying to handle it. I just want to manage it to my own benefit. That's what I know it's going to explode, but I'm hoping to, ring the cash register a few times before it all explodes. I'll get my bag. You'll get your bag. Trust me. Go with me on this, Byron. It's a plan. Let's go to the deads. These are the people who've died. We look at people's life resumes, and then we decide whether or not, heaven or hell. We decide. Here we go. Let's start off. Dead on this day in 1796, Catherine the Great. Well, okay. Catherine the Great's going to hell. She's absolutely going to hell. She didn't die. Oh, God, this is another one of those things. Whenever the name, like cocktail party knowledge dictates a lot of bullshit. Cocktail party knowledge is when you just know a little bit about a subject and you're around somebody and they're talking about it and you got to hang and bang with them for a couple of minutes. So you just unload everything you know on the subject, which is very little and probably not nuanced. And then you unload that and you move on to the next. So people's cocktail party knowledge of Catherine the Great would usually just spew out something like, she died banging a horse. The horse sat on her and crushed her because she was such a perv. Yeah, that's the story. Again, not true. Not even remotely true. But, ladies and gentlemen, the very same French satire news magazine that published the story about Marie Antoinette saying, let them eat cake. And that became something that everyone thinks she said. Even she never said that. That was a joke that was published in a magazine that was a joke magazine, and people at the time knew it was a joke. It's just that, a couple generations later, when people found old copies of it, maybe they didn't know it was a joke, and suddenly that became the thing. Marie Antoinette said, let them eat cake. Catherine the Great was crushed by a horse. No, she wouldn't. She wasn't crushed by a horse. That was the exact same French satire magazine. It's not Charlie Hebdo. French papers have a long history of satire magazines. But Charlie Hebdo is one of the old. That's where they had that terrible. It's like The Onion, right? It's like The Onion, except that shit all started in France, and they were big on it, especially during the Revolution. So there you go. Catherine the Great did not get crushed by a horse while trying to have sex with it. Not sure how she died. Probably just old age. She was beloved. She was beloved, but resented by the rest of Europe because she'd grown to be very powerful, and she'd grown Russia to become very powerful. It's why they call her the Great. When you are awarded the title the Great posthumously, it means that people liked you when you were around. So these attempts to sort of besmirch her reputation were done by a French satire magazine, who, if you know your history, the French weren't great fans of the Russians. So she's in hell, though, because Catherine the Great was probably in hell. Esther Roll died on this day in 1998. She was Florida Evans. She was also Maud's maid from the show Maud. She was J.J. Walker's mom. J.J. Evans. He was J.J. He was Jimmy Walker. He played J.J. Evans. Ugh. Esther Roll, we're putting her in hell. She was in heaven. She was nice. She was like, we liked her. All right. Dead on this day in 2006, preemptively, because we have rules around here, but Bo Schembechler. Bo Schembechler died on this day in 2006, and we automatically put football coaches in hell, because football coaches are some of the worst people you're ever going to meet. Actors and actresses, okay, I guess we don't use actress anymore, so just actors. Actors are like the worst people you could find yourself in an ongoing relationship with. And I don't mean sexual. I mean in any way, shape, or form. I mean just, being friends with a famous actor. It's the worst. Football coaches are really bad too. Football coaches are absolutely terrible people. No, I know a lot of football coaches. What do you mean? Did you say on your show I was terrible? Yeah, because you are in your fiber. I mean, you're nice on the surface to the people in your personal universe, but in your fiber, you're broken, because all football coaches are. They all go to hell. Cheaters, liars, exploiters, abusers, narcissists, all of that stuff. Just ask the child of any professional football coach what it's like having a dad who's a football coach. Not good. All right, that's going to do it. Those are the people we're sending to heaven and hell. Not many. 3 people. Catherine the Great goes to hell. Esther Roll, Florida Evans from Good Times, goes to heaven. And Bo Schembechler, Bo Schembechler, he's going to hell because he's a football coach, and that's where football coaches go. All right, folks, it is the High Noon Report with me, Pugs Moran, whatever you want to call me. Moran is how it is. Pugs Moran. Executive produced today by the wonderful April. April tipped the show, so she gets the honor of being the executive producer, the person who tips. Best tipper over the previous show's time, like when show ends. And the best tipper in that time period, they get to be the executive producer. It's Not a job that pays well, but, you know, hey, it's fun. We do this every day, going on 3.5 years. All right, what do you say we move forward? Let's do that. Let's move forward with all of this. You know, the people who I'm in numerous projects with, people I'm involved in different things, that they all know. They all know. They all know that I'm streaming between 12 and they all know that my phone is like they all know. And yet I'm still on group texts. Don't take me off group texts, please. You hear me, Lacey? Get me off this group text. Well, unless it's important. I'm just kidding. Let me see. I need to check the group text. All right. Sorry. Back to the show. What do you say we get started now? Let's do all the things that are trending, the hot topics, the current events. Let's run through them. Top of the list every day until some kind of settlement is reached. We are going to lead with Israel. Israel's in the news. They're at war with Hamas. You want more details on that? Go look anywhere else. Moving on. Elon. We talked about this yesterday. Yesterday we talked about the anti-Semitic tweet that Elon Musk commented why he felt compelled to even, because that's the narcissism of the world's richest man. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't think what's in his best judgment. So he did something, you know, revealed maybe the way he feels about some stuff, and a whole bunch of people, because he owns public companies. That's a problem. See, Elon, you're the world's richest man because you got. Wait, does he own public? Twitter's public, right? Isn't it? Wait a second. I don't even know. I'm just ranting. This is what we do here. Anyway, a bunch of advertisers are out on Twitter. They're gone. They've lost. Twitter says they've lost half their advertising in the last 48 hours. We'll see if they come back. Who knows? Whatever. IBM is a big one. Hollywood Studio. Of course, Hollywood Studios. They're not going to be advertising on Twitter anymore. All that stuff. So we'll see. People on the board of Twitter are demanding that Elon do something. Apologize. Some are whispering, step down. We'll see. I don't know. Hey, Kanye was able to go away for like 6. He's still away, right? Isn't he? He pops up sometimes, but he went away. He had his thing. The whole world went, nope. And he went away. He hasn't really come back yet. Elon can't do that. Elon can't go away. Elon's got a rocket that's going off tomorrow. Elon's got a big rocket that's going off tomorrow, and I need that rocket to be a success tomorrow. I want to see that damn thing blow up. That thing blows up, I'm going to be so pissed at Elon. Why? Because I want to go to Mars, and this big Mars rocket going to go off tomorrow. Elon, SpaceX, they built the biggest rocket ever. It's going to take us to Mars, and they got to see if it works first, so they're going to try for a second time tomorrow. They're going to launch it. First one didn't go so good. Blew up. This one we're hoping for better results, because come on, man. But other than that, yeah, Elon's a D-bag. But I hope your rocket goes off. Also trending today, Santos. We talked about the Santos story yesterday. There was an ethics committee vote yesterday on whether or not to remove George Santos from these here United States Congress. And they said, nope. They said he can stay. And no, we're not going to get rid of him. I mean, he's still a United States congressman. We're not going to get rid of him. 56-page report. Now we have the details on what the ethics committee found. 56 pages of nonsense on this guy. 56 pages of things that should have him gone from Congress. But because they're also in Congress and, slippery slope, precedent and all that, they don't want to remove one of their duly elected guys, even though he's got like 6% approval rating. They don't want to get rid of one of their duly elected guys, because at what point does the witch hunt turn on them and come for them? And all of a sudden, Herb Clausen of the Georgia 5th is suddenly, going to get kicked out of Congress. You can't start that. You can't start just throwing people out of Congress for anything other than pedophilia or murder. I think that's it. I think that's the bar. So Santos is staying. The 56-page report, which is accompanied with hundreds of pages of exhibits and evidence, is no surprise, but it is still an incredibly damning document. It depicts Santos as a total con man who perpetrated an almost unimaginable series of frauds involving campaign money and his personal finances. The committee details many of the schemes in which Santos is already implicated and provides federal prosecutors with more potential crimes to investigate. The House Ethics Committee voted to refer evidence to the Justice Department, which has already charged Santos with 23 counts of criminal activity in 2 indictments earlier this year. The report raises the possibility that Santos could be indicted yet again before a trial scheduled to begin in September of 2024. Okay. Among the other potential crimes, these are the things that the Ethics Committee found that the Justice Department doesn't already know about. Among other potential crimes, the investigative subcommittee of the Ethics Committee, known as ISC, found that Santos had falsified personal financial disclosures and used campaign funds for personal expenses. The report details cases where Santos allegedly spent campaign funds on Botox, OnlyFans. You're donating to this idiot's campaign because why? Because you went all MAGA and you went, oh, this guy. You elected him because he took your $5 and he gave it to a male stripper in Las Vegas and then masturbated online with him. That's what he did. He's still in Congress. How proud are you, New York? What district is it? New York's what? I don't have no idea. Okay, so the House Ethics. He falsified personal disclosures, used campaign funds for personal expenses, used it on Botox, OnlyFans, and Atlantic City Casino, a skincare spa, and other things unrelated to running for Congress. The ISC recommended that the Ethics Committee publicly condemn Santos as having engaged in conduct beneath the dignity of the office. No, he's engaging in activities that seem to be right in step with you guys, because you guys are not getting rid of him for this. You seem, by not ejecting him from Congress, you and the Ethics Committee, 1, shows you don't really know what ethics are, and 2, you're scared. You're scared. You know that you're doing shitty stuff too. You just ain't been outed yet. Let's see here. The ISC recommended that the Ethics Committee publicly condemn Santos as having engaged in conduct beneath the dignity of the office and having brought severe discredit upon the august House of Representatives. Oh, shut up. Severe discredit? Freaking kidding me? That's the awful catch-22 about the House of Congress. We all agree that our congressmen suck. We all agree. The collective body of the United States Congress suck, but not our guy. Not our guy. My guy's good. I'm going to keep reelecting my guy. It's your guy who sucks. That's what happens. Do you know what the re-election rate is in Congress? I mean, it's like dudes are in these seats for 20 years because not our guy. It's not our guy. Vote everybody out. Never vote for the same person again. Reshuffle the deck. Not our Congress sucks. Not our guy. I met our guy. Little Timmy and I went down to the pancake breakfast the Kiwanis Club held, and we met our guy once, and he tousled Timmy's hair, and he's got our vote for life. You idiot. You moron. Everybody else's guy in Congress is corrupt and a crook. They ought to take care of that. Nobody's taking care of it on their own. Nobody is. Get rid. Look, maybe you got a good guy. Hey, I got a good one. I got Robin Kelly. I like her. In Illinois. I live here. But yeah, let's get rid of them. Let's just get rid of all of them. Every single damn one of them. Not our guy. Puffy's in the headlines. We talked about this last night on the Radio Misfits show. Sean Combs, super producer, hip-hop icon. He's got a girlfriend, an old girlfriend, Cassie. Apparently she was with him for 10 years. She's saying that he was awful for 10 years. And now she wants like $30 million. 10 years? Awful for 10 years? Someone should just be awful once. That's moving on. Also, Puff says he's not smoking weed anymore. That's another big, or Snoop, sorry. Puff, I got confused. Puff says he's not a racist. Rapist. Cassie says he is. That's that story. Snoop, however, Snoop says he's not smoking weed anymore. Is there anything new? Let me see if there's any kind of update, because I am expecting the other shoe to drop on the big Snoop Dogg announcement yesterday that he was giving up smoke. So hold on. Let me see what's happening here. Let me see what the latest is on Snoop Dogg. That's right. 2 G's. He can't spell dog. Well, let me see here. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, there is no update yet. Maybe he's going to wait a week or something. He's going to let this play out through a natural news cycle. Although, what is a natural news cycle in 2023? I have no idea. The whole idea that I learned about in journalism school about news cycles, they don't mean anything anymore because of the instant, because of Twitter. there are no more rules about news cycles. Snoop Dogg says he's given up marijuana or at least smoking it. Says after much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke. Smoke. He says smoke. The rapper, whose real name is Calvin Broadus, told 82.5 million followers on Instagram, please respect my privacy at this time. That's a joke. He's joking. That's him being snarky. Please respect my privacy. Because this is not a family tragedy. So that leads me to believe that this entire thing where Snoop Dogg says he's given up smoke is not, he's expecting all of us to overreact because we're all a bunch of stupid people who don't look at words and actually listen to intent. He said he's giving up smoke. James and I believe, and we talked about this last night on the Radio Misfits show, he's about to launch a new vape line. He's about to launch a new edible line. He's giving up smoke. Well, you know who else is giving up smoking marijuana? Everybody under the age of 18. Or there's the next generation of weed hobbyists, if you will. I don't know. What do you why am I making it different than people who drink beer? The next generation of people who smoke weed are not going to be smoking weed. It's all vape. It is all vape. And why not? It's supposed to be better for you, although still waiting on the other shoe to drop on vaping, right? We could find out because that's a relatively new thing. We could find out, no, it cuts your lungs in wax and it kills you quicker than smoke, whatever. Who knows? But right now in 2023, all of us dummies, and by the way, we're going to look dumb compared to people 500 years from now when they look back on us and go, they were vaping? They did this? This was like a thing. Like 500 years from now, they'll say that and we'll be like, yeah, that's what we were doing. But it seems better, and I think that's what this is. Snoop Dogg at his age is not giving up weed. People do not give up weed because it causes problems in their personal life. That's not a weed thing. That's an alcohol thing. That's a coke thing. That's an opioid thing. That's not a weed thing. People who smoke weed they don't get into trouble. They get into trouble because it's illegal, which is a whole catch-22. Because that's the reason they get into trouble. If it just wasn't illegal, they wouldn't get into trouble. They wouldn't leave their house. Anyway, Snoop Dogg is not giving up weed. The whole world is like, why is he giving up weed? He ain't giving up weed. This is a business play. As I noted last night, he is so deeply entangled in the legal weed world. He's got companies, he's got grows, he's got all of this stuff. I think what he's doing is he's like an automaker and he's looking at the electric vehicle. And I think Snoop Dogg might be transitioning his business into a purely vape and edible sort of business model. I don't know. I think that's where it's going. I do not for a minute believe that Snoop Dogg is giving up smoking weed. It's absurd. And he talks about it like it's because it's causing family problems. That family was born into that. That's not like suddenly it's become a problem. Suddenly, Snoop, we've noticed you smoking a lot more weed. Snoop is a billionaire. Leave him alone. He's got a wonderful family. Have you ever seen his kids? His kids all seem great. His kids are a bunch of rich kids who went to the best schools and had, leave Snoop alone. This is a play. This is Snoop being Snoop. We know Snoop. Isn't this crazy too about Snoop? You look at Snoop, you look at Ice Cube. Snoop and Ice Cube and Ice-T. Those three. My God. Snoop Dogg was 25 years ago. He was Calvin Broadus, accused murderer, who was on trial. And everyone was like, this gangster rap is terrible. This Snoop Dogg is a violent criminal. That was the world. Ice Cube, he was in NWA. Are you kidding me? NWA was the most dangerous thing that America had seen since... I don't know, I got nothing. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Ice-T. Body Count. Ice-T had a band called Body Count with a song called Cop Killer. Ice-T was like the least marketable guy in mainstream entertainment in 1992. All three of these guys are absolutely beloved now. Snoop Dogg is a stuffed animal. People would let their children play with Snoop Dogg now. In 1992, Kelvin Brodus wasn't getting anywhere near your kid. Ice Cube, same thing. Ice Cube is doing daddy daycare shows. Ice Cube, Ice-T. Ice-T has made a career playing a cop for 20 years. The guy who had a song called Cop Killer and was banned across the country has been playing a cop on TV for 20 years. That's how we change. We do change. New generations come with new ideas, and guess what? This new generation has a new idea about marijuana, and it doesn't concern smoking. You know why, too? Here's why. I mean, it's an obvious reason. You do not know when somebody is getting high with a marijuana vape pen. You don't. You know from a block away when the kid's smoking a joint in his garage. What is that? So just as far as like how it appeals to the next generation of user, man, you can't stop your kids from getting high with vape pens. They don't smell. They don't give off any smell. And it's vapor. So the minute they go, gone. Doesn't linger like smoke. It doesn't hang in the air and it doesn't have a smell. It's just, what's that, Mom? And then Mom comes into the room and goes, what you doing in here? She doesn't smell anything. She doesn't see anything. That's why vape is moving. And I'm telling you, it's because of kids. I've already had these conversations with my son. I'm like, dudes vaping? You got dudes with, they doing the vapes? Yeah, it's pretty common. They go, what's common? Like the nicotine or what? He's like, no, THCA, like THCA. That's a thing. Kids are getting it. It's in stores. It's the hemp. It's the legal stuff. High school kids, taking little rips between classes. And it's easier to do now. There were always kids. We were in high school. Kids would get high in the bathroom. They'd go into the bathroom and be like, but you knew because you could smell it. Now you can't smell it. I'm telling you. Vaping. That's what Snoop's getting into. Public gayness is a thing. By the way, that's a cool name for a band. I think I think public gayness would be a very cool name for a band. Public gayness is in the news. Is it Murfreesboro, Tennessee? Yeah. They made it illegal in the town of Murfreesboro. Can't be publicly gay in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I don't know. Hey, you being publicly gay? I don't really know how they enforce it, but I bet you made a bunch of blue-haired church ladies feel good. I bet you when they said, "Oh, now you can't be publicly gay," now a little something for those people. Although Murfreesboro, Tennessee, I imagine that's all those people. I don't know what this means. What it means is that two dudes can't kiss in public, two women can't hold hands in public. It's illegal, or else it's illegal. Well, guess what? It's not illegal because this is the United States of America, and I'm sorry, but some little city council in Murfreesboro doesn't get to overturn the United States Constitution. They have no right. This is such a silly law. It has no teeth. They can't do anything with it. I mean, there isn't an appeals court judge in the land that is gonna. No, it's just not a thing. It's just not a thing, and they're trying to do it, and it's just not a thing. But there you go. I understand it. You hate gay people, and you're just looking to be mean. You know there's no teeth to this thing. Congratulations, you fucking sloth of a human. You're just trying to be fucking mean. That's all it is. You gotta call these people out. You just gotta call people out on their bullshit. What's your point here? What's behind this? Oh, you're just a cock. I get it. You're an asshole. That's what this is about. Here you go. So if Public Gayness is my new band, then our first album is Loneliness Epidemic, right? Come on, dude. Have you heard Loneliness Epidemic from Public Gayness? Oh my God. It is so good. Loneliness Epidemic is being reported. Apparently there's an epidemic of loneliness. They say that this is, it began with the pandemic. A lot of people who went into sort of a lonely sort of state of existence never came out of it. And they're saying it's a problem. It is a problem. It's sad. Is there anything sadder than lonely people? You ever seen The Lonely Guy? You ever seen Steve Martin, Charles Grodin, Lonely Guy from like 1983 or something? Steve Martin plays a dude who's got no game, but he's desperate to meet a woman and he's lonely. And he realizes that there are a whole lot of other lonely guys just like him. There's a bunch of other dudes. This is a whole subclass of the masculine species, the lonely guy. So he writes a book, and the book becomes a bestseller, and he becomes really famous as like the lonely. It's funny. It's a good movie. It's a comedy. But I'm talking about lonely guys. Like, You know what? You know what's interesting? This is interesting in that my mother and I talk about this subject, have had conversations about this subject in the past. People do not understand the difference between being lonely and being alone. That's a big difference. See, being lonely is the result of being alone. You can be like you can't be lonely without being alone. But just because you're alone doesn't mean that you're lonely. See, do you see that? Like there are people, like when I think of like the lonely guys, like people, I think of like dudes. I think of dudes who can't meet a girl. Guys who are awkward and maybe they've had like two girlfriends their whole. We know these guys, the wonderful people, cool dudes, everything. It's just something just doesn't work for them in that area. Those are the people I think of when I think of the lonely people. And I imagine, I mean, I focus on the men because I'm a man, but I imagine that there are women who are the same way. And again, the loneliness epidemic, this is not about getting laid. This is not about, but it's not about that. It's about someone who needs a connection with another human being who is not getting it. That's all. That's what loneliness is. Now, some people do not need the human connection in that way. This is also, the study also looks at people who have almost no interaction with other people other than online. Like that's the only interaction that they have is that they're online and stuff. I don't know. I'm an only child. I mean, this whole thing about this is because James. Okay, so like James would probably think I'm a lonely guy. I mean, nobody else would. I mean, nobody knows me. Nobody sees me every day. Nobody would say that I'm a lonely guy. But I think that there might be that perception. And with me, like I said, I'm an only child who was raised by a single mother. It was the two of us. And because she was a single mother, she worked her ass off to give me everything that, I should have had with a normal nuclear family. So I spent a lot of time in my room by myself my entire life. Oh, that's so sad, people say. I'm like, sad? Don't give me your freaking, it was awesome. Are you kidding me? I mean, how can that be sad? It's only sad because you're projecting your own life experience onto me, forgetting completely that I have no knowledge of your life experience. So how can I feel sad about not having something I've ever understood? Now, you might be right. Your way might be better, but that doesn't mean that my way sucks. I adapted to life as an only child, as somebody who is deep in their head all the time, as somebody who's constantly coming up with things to entertain myself. That's not lonely. That's just how I'm hardwired. I mean, I've been married twice. I mean, I pretty much know that if I'm in a long-term relationship with somebody, I need to be in a long-term relationship with somebody who also likes their alone time, because we need to have separate rooms. We need to hang out when appropriate. But when it's time for me to just go inside my head, you got to let me go inside my head. Because if I don't get to go inside my head for like 5 hours a day by myself, that becomes foreign to me and I become uncomfortable because that's not who I am. Again, not lonely, but alone. Loneliness is as bad for you as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, the World Health Organization says. The World Health Organization, in the minds of a lot of people, have said a lot of bullshit things recently, but that, to me, has got real. How do you quantify that? That is just a headline designed to get people's attention. You're the World Health Organization. You're okay with that headline? Being lonely is like 15 cigarettes a day. Show me the math, asshole. Show me how you came up with that. And then watch, they probably can. And I'll be like, well, I'm stupid. Sorry. The World Health Organization has declared loneliness a pressing health threat with risks as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. Oh, shut up. Loneliness transcends borders and is becoming a global public health concern affecting everyone. Oh, mind your own business. Mind your own business, or how about this? Legalize prostitution for these guys. My whole argument about why prostitution should be legalized. I just think it's I think it's something that, people have certain hangups about because of sexual morals and all of that stuff. But, sex is just an act. It's a beautiful act between two people who are deeply in love. It can be one of the most magnificent things that God created. But it's also fun to just do with somebody. It's also just fun to do with somebody who makes it move. So, I don't have these crazy sexual hangups about that. I think other people do. But a lot of lonely dudes out there, man. Let them get prostitutes. let them have, if they can pay for it and there's a woman that needs the money, why not? I mean, is it sad? Well, James Parker would, but I'm not that judgmental about people in their individual situations. Whatever works for you, brother. I got no judgments on you. I get it. I don't know if that would work for me. I think one, I couldn't afford it. Secondly, I don't think I could, and this is not a moral objection. I think I like the hunt, though. I think that's what it is. I mean, I like flirting. You know what I mean? Like, if I want to go out and get laid, you know what I mean? If I want to, I kind of like, I know that there's like the guarantee, like the businessman, the handsome businessman who goes out and does it with a high escort call girl. It's like, well, I just because of the expediency of it. It's just, I don't know. I like the hunt. I like talking to strange girls. I like seeing how awful they think I am. Or how delightful and charming. See, that's fun. And then there's a payoff. There's a lot of guys who can't do that. There's a lot of guys who can't approach girls. There's a lot of guys who, and I don't know where this came from. I don't like, cause I didn't grow up with a father and my mom didn't prep me on how to, I think spending a lot of time around women, I think being exposed to women, mom's friends and all that. I didn't have a lot of guys. I had grandpa and I hung out, but that was mostly just him drinking and us watching football together, So there wasn't like a whole lot of, this is how you go up to a girl. I don't know how I developed that. I think maybe it's just a part of your personality. You just kind of have to have it. I do know this because I've said this to my son about it, because my son also has that sort of, hey girl, what are you looking at? Like, he's not afraid to like talk to a girl, which I'm so happy about. But when we've had the conversation about, man, it's averages. Okay, first of all, if you're the kind of guy who sees a girl from across the room and falls in love, and when she rejects you, you are devastated. We've got other things we need to talk about, because that's not normal. That is not it. You see a girl across the room, you say, hey, that girl's a prospect, and you go up and you see if she is a prospect, and then maybe there's a connection there, and then you're like, holy crap, I got lucky. This myth of true love. There's timely love. I believe that there's timely love, but true love? Are you kidding me? You settled. You met someone, you liked each other, you thought this is good enough, this is the best I got. You're telling me in the entire world you think that because you're happy in your marriage that you met a true love, the one true love? No, you met the one that was nearest to you that you did love, and you do love them, but you think that maybe there's not a girl in Belgrade that you could run into and be like, oh my God, I love her more. Come on, man. The world's a big place. What else about this loneliness thing? Let's see here. They got a 3-year mission to combat the isolation plague accelerated by the lockdowns. So there you go. So money's being spent on loneliness. I'm telling you, make prostitution legal. And it's funny. I'm like, Richard Hunter, our friend Richard Hunter used to be a host here in town on the station 105.3. Richard Hunter was always, he was always a board member of Normal. He was always a big, back when it was provocative to be a big legalization advocate, especially on a major radio station. Richard Hunter was weed should be legal. Weed should be legal. And he's a member of Normal. He's a board member of Texas Normal. Never in his life has he smoked weed. Never. Kind of how I am with the prostitution thing. I don't think it would be for me. But I think other people should. I think if they want, if you can afford it, if you're a rich guy and, you need a little something and it's going to help her and there's no violence involved and no pimps and no drugs and no trafficking and all that shit gets cleaned up. All that shit gets cleaned up with regulation. Now you're still going to get like $20 streetwalkers. I don't know. Maybe you get $20 call. I don't know what. Well, we'll see what would happen with the price, because I'll tell you, when they legalized weed in the places where they legalized weed, I don't even know what a prostitute costs. Like, Like, is a $20 streetwalker a real thing, or is that just something from Starsky and Hutch in the 70s? You know, I don't. What is it like? What does it cost? Like on Harry Hines, what does that cost? And then like I've heard like she's a $5,000 a night call girl, so I know that's out there. So I know that realm's out there. I imagine the $5,000 a night call girl. It's pretty good. I have to think that's pretty good. Bathed is what I'm saying. Not a lot of scabs on the 5,000. The one on Harry Hines, though, I think that might be problematic. Maybe some, you might not. Difficult. Anyway, I don't get that. Did you ever see that? Did you ever like see, probably, you ever seen prostitutes on the street and look at them and go, who's paying for that? Oh my God. What's wrong? What the hell? How is that? I in a mini dress. It inspires me. It's like I can put a mini dress on and I can go out there and I could probably clear $500 tonight. That'd be great. That'd be great. So what does a prostitute cost? Anyone in the chat room know? Like what would do they do? It's an hourly thing? I know it's an hourly thing because I'm not that stupid. But what is it? Byron says they're like $80. Escort Atlas under $80. I think if I was gonna, look. I mean, if you're gonna do it, save up all year. Don't do it weekly with the person you meet at the corner of Maple and Kings Road. Save up all year. Make it an event, Christmas present maybe. There you go. Save up all year for yourself and get yourself a good one. You're not getting laid a lot anyway, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. You're lonely, so you can wait a year. A year is not. Do you know what a year is to me? I mean, I don't even think of it. It's not even a thing. Pornhub exists. You can manage the situation. All right, moving on. But isn't that great? We went from a story about public gayness to a story about loneliness epidemic. That's my band. I'm telling you, my band is Public Gayness, and my album is Loneliness Epidemic. Scammers. Here's a story about scammers that we can get into. Look at this. Some scammers are online. Oh, no, you know what? I don't know that I want to do this story right now after talking about the loneliness guys, because these are scammers that are targeting lonely guys. AI-generated smoke shows, AI-generated hot chicks, not even real people are now contacting, dudes online, sad dudes, and asking them for investments. Ugh, and dudes are falling for it. Could you imagine just meeting somebody randomly online, like they fall into your Facebook or Twitter, I don't know how, Instagram, whatever, however it works. They fall into your privates and they're like, hi, I just wanted to say hi. My Facebook is filled with these. That's why I don't go to Facebook. It's why I don't check my Facebook message. It's why I don't even have a Facebook Messenger on my phone, because it's just filled with, hi, want to be friends? And it's just all of these people. Anyway, the news story here is that they're not even real people. Now they're going there. There's a whole new AI-generated computer bot system. I don't want to enter my email. Really? You're going to make me enter my email to register here? Come on. Just to get the story. You didn't make me do this earlier. Never mind. Never mind. We're not going to do this story. AI-generated things are popping up in people's Facebooks. If you're a lonely dude, ignore it. She's going to ask you for money. Don't give it to her. They're making money. Who is giving money this way? This is why you're lonely. You obviously make awful decisions. You need to fix yourself. If you are going, one dude gave $60,000 to a chick he'd been talking to for a week on Facebook. She turned out to be a robot or AI or whatever. She wasn't even real, but he was having full-on conversations with her, and she asked him for 60 grand, and he gave it to her. And now he's upset because that money's gone. He's upset. Of course he is. My God. I mean, it started with the Nigerian prince, right? The deposed Nigerian prince who needed your help, your random help on email to get him his billions back. And for your cooperation, all you got to do is send all your money to him right now. So it was like, and people did that. People did that. Holy cow. Oh, I mean, not us. If you are the type of person who is listening to a current event stream on YouTube in the middle of the day because you want to have some reasonable conversation about the world as it unfolds in front of us, you're fine. But these other people are out there, man. These people are out there. Scammers and their prey. Where cheaters live. Hey, this is fun. This is a story that was trending earlier today. This is a map. Ashley Madison. Remember Ashley Madison? I thought Ashley Madison went out of business. Didn't they have a data breach that exposed all of their skanky dude customers? So Ashley Madison, that's a site service. I don't know what it is. A site service. Ashley Madison is a sugar baby site. It matches married men who want to cheat on their wives with women who are happy to help him cheat on his wife as long as, they throw cash their way and, maybe pick up rent or something. Anyway, it's a really shady thing. But I knew a guy who was on Ashley Madison and he loved it. Now, he was super rich and he wasn't even married. Bruce X. He wasn't married. He was on it, but he was like, it's the best dating service I've ever been on. These chicks don't expect anything except me to pay dinner and maybe rent. And I'm like, okay, that's it. That's all they expect. But they're hot. They're all like models and stuff. None of them are prostitutes or anything. I'm like, oh yeah, none of them are prostitutes. No, this is way different than prostitution. This is totally a different thing. I get you. America's cheating hotspots have been revealed by Ashley Madison. Should we look at the states? Okay, so I guess this is states we're going to be looking at here. These are states where cheating is most prevalent. Where's the list? Hold on. You know how this goes. Spinning. Hold on, we'll get it. In the meantime, I will tell you that Florida is really well represented in the list of most cheatingest places. Okay, so here you go. So here's the list of the most cheatingest places in America. If you live in any of these places, you're probably being cheated on, or you're doing the cheating. Are you ready? We'll go top 20. Portland, Oregon is the 20th most cheatingest place in America. Washington, D.C. is 19. Seattle is 18. Aurora, Colorado is 17. Aurora, Colorado. Bakersfield, California. Bakersfield, that's funny. Just rando Bakersfield. Bakersfield, California is 16. Anchorage, Alaska is 15. This I get. I understand this. This very secluded. A lot of debauchery going on. A lot of like sexual silliness happening there in Alaska. Why not? It's just really not. Alaska is 15, or Anchorage is 15. Colorado Springs is 14. Tucson is 14. Cleveland is 12. Denver 11. And now we get into the top 10. These are the top 10 cheatingest places in America. This is where people cheat on people most. Number 10, Pittsburgh. What? Really? That's weird. That's kind of random. Number 9, Buffalo. Buffalo? Again, cold winters. Maybe you get snowed in. You got to stay over at someone's house, and all of a sudden you're having sex with their, I don't know. I don't know how it works. Number 8, St. Paul. Again, St. Paul. These are Pittsburgh, Buffalo, St. Paul. These are all cold places. Number 11 was Denver. Denver, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, St. Paul. St. Paul is number 8 in the cheatingest place in America. St. Paul, just outdone by its neighbor, its twin, Minneapolis, is 7. Minneapolis, St. Paul comprise 7 and 8 on the list of the cheatingest places in America. Number 6 is Cincinnati. That's another rando one. Really? Why are people cheating in Cincinnati? Cincinnati is such a stupid city. I don't know. Oh, God. Oh, what a joke of a city. Cincinnati. I mean, it's hard to believe that Cincinnati and Cleveland are in the same state, because Cleveland's a real city. Cleveland's like, you can go to Cleveland, you're like, yeah, I'm in a real city. Yeah, I know all the Cleveland jokes. Mistake by the lake. That's kind of from the 80s. Cleveland's actually pretty cool now. Cleveland's got a lot of cool stuff going on there. Cleveland's a city. Cincinnati is like, hey, let's do Indianapolis, except not as glamorous. That's like Cincinnati. Weird city. And people are cheating. All right, here we go. Top 5 cheatingest places in America. Number 5 is Tampa. Number 4 is Vegas. kind of figured Vegas. I thought Vegas would be a top 3, but no. Number 4 is Vegas. Number 3 is Atlanta. Number 2 is Orlando. And number 1, cheatingest place in America, Miami, Florida. Look at Miami with 3 of the top 5 places. That's pretty crazy. So if you, Floridians, right? We know this. Floridians, they cheat. All right, there you go. Those are the cheatingest people in all of America. What else do we have here? Clarissa Thompson is trending. This is a fun story. It's a nothing story. Other people have talked about this. This is a nothing story, but it's funny because it's being amplified, and all of a sudden it's like a big thing. Clarissa Thompson is a sideline reporter. She does NFL games. You know she is. Maybe she's not Susie Colbert. She's maybe not Michelle Chafoya, but she's one of them. She's one of the big ones. Clarissa Thompson. She admitted on a podcast that she was on, and she even openly said, look, I've talked about this before. We've talked about this. She's mentioned this before, and other people have talked about doing silly things like this. It's not a big deal. Yet somebody isolated it, and now it's trending number 1, even though it's like, yeah, they do this. That's kind of normal. What do? Clarissa Thompson, the sideline reporter, has admitted on a podcast that she sometimes makes up the sideline reports because the coaches don't want to talk to her, or there's nobody that's giving any information. So when, Troy and Joe go, let's go down to Clarissa on the sidelines. Clarissa, what'd they say coming out of the tunnel at halftime? She'd be like, well, Coach Belichick says that he needs the team to dig in, whatever. You know how they do that. That's what I'm talking about. She's admitting now that she makes up a lot of that. Like a lot of that stuff is not, she doesn't get them. They're mad. They're whatever. But they're going live to her, so she's got to say something. Fox Sports and Amazon Prime Video host Clarissa Thompson used to be a sideline reporter for NFL games, but she admitted that not everything she reported was true. Speaking on the Pardon My Take podcast, Thompson talked about her experience as a sideline reporter in the conversations they have with coaches and players, primarily just before or right after halftime. Typically, before the game starts, the sideline reporter will give any details coaches told them, but she sometimes made up what they said. Here's a quote now from Clarissa Thompson. I've said this before, so I've said this before, so I've not been fired for it or anything, so I'll just say it again. I would make up the report sometimes because the coach wouldn't come out at halftime, or it was too late and I was like, I didn't want to screw up the report, so I'm just going to make something up. Happens all the time. You fill in time. It's called fill in time. She then explained that there was no harm in anything that she would say to audiences. And she went on to say, no coach is going to get mad if I say, hey, we talked to coach at halftime. He says we need to stop hurting ourselves. We need to do better on third down, and we need to stop turning the ball over and do a better job of getting off the field. I'm Clarissa Thompson. The coach never told her that, but that's kind of like what she would say. And then as she responds to that, she says, they're not going to correct me on that. It's fine. They're going to hear that, and they're going to go, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's. She said absolutely nothing. So that's why Clarissa Thompson is trending today. People feel you gotta bullshit, man. You gotta be able to bullshit. When they go to you live and you got nothing, you gotta come up with something. So sometimes there you go. It's not her fault she didn't have nothing. You think Bill Belichick is just always gonna go, all right, Clarissa, let me stop and have a conversation with? No, these guys are assholes. We know this. This is why when we do the deads, all football coaches go to hell, because they're assholes. Still, it's her job. Do you think her boss on Monday is going to go, why didn't you get Bill Belichick? No, she's got to answer for it. So she's got to fill that little 20-second time. And like she said, she's not doing any harm. She's not putting words in their mouth that they're going to regret, right? No. Clarissa Thompson. Martha Stewart is also trending today. Martha Stewart is trending because she's not doing Thanksgiving. Oh, my God, Martha. Martha wants nothing to do with Thanksgiving. She's like, I am done. Martha says she's already cooked 18 turkeys because this is Martha Stewart season. She has to go on every TV show and cook a turkey. She said, I've already cooked 18 turkeys, and then I got to cook one more on the Today Show on Thanksgiving morning. So Martha Stewart, she ain't doing Thanksgiving. She's like, nope. Here's what she said she's doing instead. She used to do like Martha Stewart's Thanksgivings were very popular. She would invite all kinds of celebrities and nice, right? I mean, that was her thing. It's how she kind of became famous. So she's not doing it this year. And she said, I have selected 5 people from my invites, and I will be dropping by their homes on Thanksgiving. Oh my God. You think any of the wives of these 5 invites would like a heads up that Martha's going to be stopping by? Maybe they'd like to know around what time Martha's going to be stopping. Think of the pressure. You're the wife of and by the way, Martha's not stopping by your house or my house. Martha's stopping by, like, when she says, I'm going to stop by 5 friends' house. She means she's going to swing by the governor of New Jersey's house, and then she's going to go to, I don't know. Who owns New York? I don't know. Whoever owns New York, she's going to go to their house. But still, don't you think the wives of these men are going to be like, oh, Mother Stewart's coming. Oh, my God. They're going to be extra hard on the staff because she's going to places that have like wait staff, permanent housekeepers and whatnot. Oh, Martha Stewart's coming. I will not be embarrassed. That's a lot of pressure for 5 places. Martha Stewart's going to be just dropping by. Maybe your house. Tell your wife, give her a heads up. The cool thing to do, give your wife a heads up. Say, hey, honey, look, just so you know, Martha Stewart's in the wind. She's just randomly going to people's houses this Thanksgiving. I just thought you should know. This is interesting. A book race. There was a big, I don't care about books. You don't care about books, but for some reason this trends at this point every month. And they talk about the biggest books of the month. And there was a big debate. There was a big argument between whose book was going to open bigger. Britney Spears' new book or Barbara Streisand's new book. Of you think won? It's Britney. Britney crushed Streisand. Because half of Streisand's audience is dead. Or they don't have eyes anymore, or something. I don't know what happens when you get old. Do you lose your eyes? They don't read. We know that. Streisand's audience is like super old. Britney's audience, they don't read either, but they want the clout of Britney's book being number 1, so they'll buy the book on Amazon and then never read it. Britney's book, Britney Spears' new autobiography, sold 81,688 copies. That's this week. Then there ain't no way there's 81,000 people who want to read that book. There's no way. I'm sure there's 81,000 people who want to have the book, and there's 81,000 people who would like others to think they read books. But no, I don't think so. Streisand's book opened with 55,322. So it was 81,000 for Britney and 55,000 for Streisand. All right, there you go. What else do we have here? We're running out of time. We are running out of time, but that's okay. We got 2 segments. We got 2 more left here in there. We're going to spend a little bit of time on both of these. Okay, first and foremost, I want to talk about this. I've been very excited. For this. I mentioned it yesterday, the F1 Vegas race. Woo! Very excited about F1 Vegas. You know I love my F1. Formula One racing. It's like Indy cars, except with European accents. It's so cool. And they don't ride on circles. They ride on road races. These are Grand Prix. These are not NASCAR races. These are different. Anyway, they're very cool. The great Netflix series, Drive to Survive. The Netflix series, Drive to Survive, is the reason why there is a Las Vegas street race Saturday night in the desert for F1. The Drive to Survive series made F1 super popular in America, a place where it never was. So they decided that they were going to have this big showcase race in Vegas. They did one in Miami, but they've been doing the Hard Rock race in Miami for a couple of years. They've also been doing the Austin, what is that? America Horse America, whatever it is, down there in Austin. They've been doing that race too, but they added a 3rd race this year because of the popularity of F1. So they decided what better showcase place for American F1 than Las Vegas. Man, was I excited. We're all excited. This is going to be so badass. And it is. It is going to be badass, but it is not going to be without problems. There are problems. The drivers are not happy. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, so Max Verstappen. Here's what Max Verstappen said yesterday. Now, who's Max Verstappen? You don't have to know. Max Verstappen is the best driver in the world. He's this year's champion. He's a Red Bull driver. He wins every freaking race. Max Verstappen is the reason that I stopped watching after a couple of races this year, because Max Verstappen was winning everything. Max Verstappen he has sewn up the driver's championship. The manufacturer's championship is also sewn up. There is absolutely nothing important about this race. It doesn't matter. Max Verstappen could be like, I'm not even going to drive in it because I don't need to. So there's nothing on the line. That's kind of heartbreaking because I had really hoped, at the end of the Formula One season, it's these final races where the actual cup, the actual drivers' championship is on the line. But this year, Verstappen and Red Bull have been so dominant that there hasn't been any question about who's going to be the drivers' champion this year in quite some time. So that's one of the reasons that, they're like, this race is, there's kind of some luster lost off this race. So Verstappen, that guy, here's what he said yesterday. We are just standing up there talking about how they're being promoted in Las Vegas. We are just standing up there looking like clowns, 3-time world champion Max Verstappen said. This whole weekend feels like 99% showbiz and 1% auto race. So they're not happy. They are not happy. Thursday night's free practice session, the first time F1 cars ran on the circuit, had to be aborted just 8 minutes into it when Carlos Sainz drove over a loose drain cover on the Vegas Strip at 200 miles per hour, causing serious damage to his Ferrari. So, they're racing down the strip. They've turned the Las Vegas Strip into a Formula One course. They go down the strip, they hard bank left. I think they go around the stadium, the football stadium, and then they go out into the desert. So it's cool. This is like a video game. Anyway, very much like a video racing game. And then they go out into the desert and they come back. But on the strip, apparently, they're having problems with the manhole covers on the strip. They're causing the cars to what they call dolphin. The cars are dolphining when they're hitting these things, dolphin or porpoising, whatever. You hear it both ways. But that's when you see a dolphin or a porpoise on the water and they're bouncing. That's what these things are causing. The race itself is also problematic because although it's here in America, it is still a European and Asian sport. Americans are just kind of into F1, right? We're interested in it now because it's new to us, but it's not new to Asia and Europe, and those are the big markets, and those people treat it like soccer. It's a very big sport over there, the rest of the world. So because of that, the race in Vegas has to start at midnight East Coast time. Is it 1 a.m. East Coast time or is it midnight? Anyway, which will be cool. Late night Saturday night, you're in bed after whatever. You're going to be able to put on the TV and see a really wicked video game type race going up and down the Vegas Strip on a Saturday night and then out into the desert. It's going to be cool. It's going to look amazing. Thursday night's free practice session, the first time F1 cars, Carlos Sainz hit a loose drain cover at 200 miles per hour. The race itself will start at an unprecedented 10 p.m. local Las Vegas time. So 10 p.m. local Las Vegas time is midnight, our time. It's 1 a.m. on the East Coast. Woo! The race itself, and that's to accommodate the European audiences and all of them. The race itself will start at an unprecedented 10 p.m. local time on Saturday, making it 1 a.m. on the East Coast and early morning across the Atlantic. Friday night's qualifying session kicks off at midnight. The results for teams and drivers who have flown from Europe is effectively shifting their body clocks to Japan time for a race in the American way. I don't know. They get jet lag. They're all over the world. For those planning to watch from Las Vegas, the whole weekend has prompted a parallel contest of one-upsmanship between hotels. You ready for these packages? Casinos who are falling over each other to offer the most absurd, expensive, headline-spinning ticket packages. The experiences left them unconvinced that the Las Vegas Grand Prix would turn into a classic. 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton calls his impression from the simulator runs so-so, and by now his biggest rival has made his position clear. Verstappen would rather be elsewhere. Verstappen says, "It's cool, but it's not why I grew up wanting to race cars." So there's a number of problems here with this race. The drivers don't want to be there. It's a meaningless race as far as, these guys are out there risking their lives in this race because it's a big showpiece for F1, the F1 governing body. This is their big show. And the drivers are like, all right, but if I die, it'll be for, there's that reasonable thing. Also, there is no excitement about the race because there's nothing on the line. This may as well be a preseason race. This means nothing. We know who the manufacturer's champion is, and we know who's going to win the Drivers' Cup. Both Max Verstappen and Red Bull, those are sewn up. But also, it's the weekend. Now, I remember people talking about this months, the weekend before Thanksgiving week. That's not a great week for Las Vegas. Las Vegas had banked on booking it this week because they thought an otherwise down week for Las Vegas tourism the week before Thanksgiving would somehow get a boost. Well, it hasn't gotten the boost that they wanted. Now, does that mean look, all these races, these draw from people, it's going to be jam-packed. I mean, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people there on the strip, but these are people who drive. These are not going to be people who are coming in from out of town to stay for a weekend. That was the hope. The hope was that 200,000 race fans were going to drop thousands and thousands of dollars to come see this race. No, that's not happening. Instead, people from Arizona are going to drive in and then they're going to drive home. And people from, Nevada, they're going to drive and they're going to drive home. So the race is going to be attended. Hotels are seeing a real problem. Hotels had absolutely insane ticket prices, hotel room rates. They were nuts. I was looking at them for months. I was like, man, that would be great. Maybe there's a way. No, there was no way. And now with 48 hours until the race, with 48 hours until the race, this was yesterday, they have dropped their room rates 50%. Because they're like, oh, apparently we can't charge 5 times the normal room rate. So that's going on. It is going to look spectacular. It is going to be cool. All the celebrities are going to be there. It's going to be a thing. It's going to happen at midnight on Saturday night. I don't give a shit if Steve Wynn isn't getting all of the rooms that I don't care about that. I don't care about the Vegas Board of Tourism. By the way, this is a 3-year thing. This is the first year of it. Maybe one of these races will count for something in the next 3 years. Vegas has built a permanent pit location there on the strip. So that's not going away. You go to Vegas in July, you're going to be able to see, oh, that's the Formula One. So Vegas is committed to this as like an annual thing. We'll see. We will see. Anyway, I'm excited. Midnight, I think it'll be on, I don't know, because this is a big American high-profile race. This might be on ESPN. Usually they're on ESPN2 or ABC. ABC airs them on Sunday afternoons. So I don't know if this will change anything, it being midnight, but whatever. All right, there you have it. That's this weekend, so I'm very excited about that. Okay, so here's another thing I want to go through. This is the last thing we're going to do today, okay? We're going to be done after this. But I got distracted today. I hadn't even gotten halfway through putting the show together. And I found this article and I started reading it and I'm like, oh man. Hey, is it going to rain? It's like really crazy weather out, isn't it? It's like dark. It's kind of, I don't know. I just noticed. So I just looked outside. It's very weird. So I started reading this article. I got distracted. I got behind it. I'm like, oh, I'm spending way too much time on this article. I'm like, why don't I just put it at the end of the show and we'll go through it together. So here's what it is. F1 car hits manhole, ends up on 3rd floor of the Flamingo. Yeah, I'd like to see one of these F1 cars jump the towers there at Caesar, or the fountains at Caesar, accidentally, like unintentionally, I guess would be the way to put it. It just porpoises, it dolphins out on a loose manhole cover, shoots up into the air, and look at that, just like Evel Knievel, shooting through the Caesar's fountains. This was an article that I found listing and making cases for who this person, who wrote this. This comes from Spin Magazine. Spin Magazine's still a thing, or is it a website? I don't know. Trying to give you guys the proper information on where this comes from. Okay, it's going to be Spin Magazine. This is an article about the most underrated bands in history. These are rock bands from, and really, if I'm looking at this, the last 50 years, last 40, 50 years of music. These are the bands who've had some success. We know all their names. Well, some of them anyway. We know their names. But they're underrated. They are way better than I think people think they are. That's the contention of this article. So I want to run through these. There's a number of them. How many? 20? I think we got 20 of these. Okay, so let's talk about some of these bands, and I'll give you some quick thoughts. You chime in the chat room if you've got some thoughts of your own. Number 20 on this list. Most underrated band. They want to tell us about the Violent Femmes. Oh, the Pride of Milwaukee. Nah. I like the Violent Femmes. First of all, the Bodines are the Pride of Milwaukee. You can stop with that. The Violent Femmes, the Blister in the Sun. When I'm walking, I strut my stuff, and I'm so strung out. I can pass. Look, I think the Violent Femmes are rated just fine. Moving on. Let's see. The next one, Little Feat. Little Feat. Lowell George, right? When that Lowell George's band, he's pretty well regarded, highly thought of. Little Feat. They got I don't know what songs Little Feat have. I don't know. I don't know. I think Little Feat is regarded where they should be. Bad Brains. Bad Brains. Spin is making the case for Bad Brains. My God, you got to make the case for Bad Brains. I'm not a fan, but I certainly have seen hundreds of other bands, much bigger, much more successful, say the reason we do this is because of Bad Brains. So yeah, maybe Bad Brains, or I'm sorry, the Bad Brains. I think that was a big thing about them. Man, they started in the 70s. Like the Bad Brains have been around forever. They were like in the early days of punk, like when I was like first like really going, I like punk rock. Like in those early, like I remember the Bad Brains being a thing. I didn't like them, but rap metal, new metal, thrash, funk, all of that stuff has some form, some origin there with the Bad Brains. All right, Spin says they are underrated as a rock band. Here's one that I don't know. Are they? Anvil? Anvil, the heavy metal band that nobody had ever heard of until there was a documentary like 15 years ago about the greatest metal band you'd ever heard of. And then they made a case they should be famous. They're not. You don't know who they are. It's a good documentary. And the band seems pretty cool, but they are not underrated. They just never made it. And a documentary was made about how they never made it and how they should have made it. And now Spin saying they're one of the most underrated bands of all time. I mean, they made it, but their best years came after the documentary was released. That's when people were like, yeah, man, Anvil's been cool for 40 years. Yeah, where were you when they were playing to 5 people at Joe's Pizza Pub in 1998? You weren't there then. All right, let's keep going. Anvil. Here's one I agree with. I absolutely agree with this. This I agree with. And you might think it's, a lot of the kind of music I like and the kind of music that I marginalize. And you're going to think that I'm crazy when I say that, nope, this is an underrated band. This is a very underrated band. The main guy in this band is one of the most talented performers that I've ever laid eyes on. Do you remember back when the Barbara Mandrell show? Remember the Barbara Mandrell show, the variety show back in the 70s? Nah, some of you don't, but some of you do. The Barbara Mandrell show. She'd get out with her 2 sisters, Louise and Blanche, I don't know. It would be like the Mandrell sisters, and they would wow the nation with how they would just pick up. They'd be standing there on stage singing their songs or the Mandrell sisters, and then they would turn around and they would each grab an instrument and they'd all just start jamming on an instrument. And then they trade the instruments and they're all jamming on each other's instruments. Then they turn around and they grab more instruments, and all of a sudden you got Barbara Mandrell with a saxophone. Crazy. Everybody was like, my God, the Mandrell sisters are so incredibly talented. Look at that. That is nuts. All right, so until seeing this band, that had been sort of the, wow, they're multi-talented. Cinderella. Cinderella comes in here. Number 6, the most underrated bands in history. Tom Kiefer is a dude. Look, Cinderella, when they came out, they got kind of put in and mashed in with a whole bunch of stupid bands that played a bunch of stupid songs that had hits and were totally disposable and one-hit wonders and all that kind of stuff. Cinderella was more than that. Cinderella was like, man, they did this blues jam that I saw them in Chicago. So they did this whole like history of Chicago blues thing that was really cool and like really, really legit. Like and then this Tom Kiefer dude, he's the singer. Tom Kiefer, he played every instrument. He did the Barbara Mandrell thing. He's like, all right, here he is on the piano singing. What was their song? They had a bunch of songs. They had like hit songs, but I don't know. I can't name any. Anyway, I do agree. I saw Cinderella thinking this band's going to suck. And I was like, wow, they were good. And then whoever the next band that came out, I was consistent. I was like, nah, this band sucks. But Cinderella by comparison was good. Where did I see him? That was a Van Halen show. It was a Van Halen show. It was like a early 90s Van Halen show, and it was Cinderella and Poison. Yeah, Poison. It was like, this band sucks. Yeah, Talk Dirty to Me is funny, but this band sucks. These guys are posers. Cinderella was good. And Van Halen, of course, was good. Blue Cheer. They say Blue Cheer. Blue Cheer. I don't know what Blue Cheer is, so we're going to move on. Exodus. Exodus is one of the most underrated bands. Exodus, a Bay Area thrash metal band, may not have achieved the same level of commercial success as their metal counterparts Metallica. However, they are recognized as one of the pioneers of the Northern California thrash speed metal movement. I've never heard of Exodus. Don't know who they are. We're going to move on from that one. UFO. Michael Schenker. Yeah, UFO's legit, and like nobody really digs on UFO. What's it say about UFO? UFO has had a number of legendary musicians come and go throughout their career, including Vinnie Moore, Pete Way, Bernie Marsden, Michael Schenker, Paul Raymond. Although they never achieved chart-topping success, their tracks Lights Out and Dr. Doctor are part of their impressive legacy. UFO. Yeah, UFO's a good band. I don't know enough about it. I just know that there's like one UFO song that I go, yeah, that song's badass. I don't even know what song it is. Black 47. This one I can get behind. Black 47. Black 47 comes in here at number 11 on this list. And by the way, it's not listed. It's just 20 bands that are severely underrated. Black 47 was a New York City band made up of a bunch of Irish immigrants. There were a bunch of dudes from Ireland, from the club scenes over there. They'd moved to New York and they decided to form a band. They were incredibly political. Not American political, like Irish political. So I was really into them. They had one hit, Funky Kaylee. It's a good song. That song's a banger. My 14-year-old son loves that song. We've got this whole like St. Patrick's Day or Proud to be Irish playlist, and Funky Kaylee's on there. He loves that song, and he should, because it's a good song. Black 47 was awesome. There would be no Flogging Mollies without Black 47. There would be no Dropkick Murphys without Black 47. They are the pioneers of that entire East Coast Irish Celtic punk folk, whatever you want to call it, and I'm here for it. Black 47, in my opinion, definitely underrated. Living Color. Living Color. Look in my eyes. What do you see? Living Color should have been so much bigger. They should have been huge. Why didn't Living Color have 10 albums? Why did Living Color only they broke the world with that song? Do you remember how big Cult of Personality was? That song is great. It is undeniably great. If you haven't heard Cult of Personality in 10 years, put it on. You're going to Vernon Reed's guitar. I mean, that was a hell of a band. And then they just went away. I don't know what happened to them. I guess people didn't like black dudes doing metal. What was the problem with Living Color? It was a bunch of black dudes doing metal. I didn't really think any of it other than I thought it was cool. Look in my eyes. All right, next, April Wine. April Wine. What's an April Wine song? Doesn't April Wine have one song that's like really good? April Wine is a prominent name in Canadian rock history, having originated in Nova Scotia and with roots in Newfoundland. The band's breakthrough came in Montreal under the guidance of the Herman Brothers and later Miles Goodwin. April Wine achieved Northern American success with their album On Record in 1972, followed by mainstream hits like First Glance, Harder, Faster, The Nature of the Beast, and Power Play. Let's see here. Rolling Stone at one point, however, their most recognizable song is Just Between You and Me. Yeah, that's the one. Just Between You and Me. April Wine. That's it. I don't know if they're underrated. I think they're rated right where they should be. I don't know. Here's why. I couldn't even remember that song. I had to be reminded of it. So, okay, that's fine. Nothing wrong with April Wine. Nothing wrong. Something wrong with this band. The Melvins come in at 14. I hate the Melvins. Early on years ago, we had to do a radio interview with the Melvins, and they were just, first of all, it was like a Melvin. It was like a Melvin, it was supposed to be the Melvin, but it was like one Melvin showed up and he was an asshole, so we're moving on. I don't care. Here's another one that's interesting, Blue Oyster Cult. Blue Oyster Cult, considered by Spin to be one of the most underrated bands, and I tend to agree. Godzilla. Come on, it ain't just Fear the Reaper, Burning for You. It's Godzilla. It's Blue Oyster Cult, man. The pride of Long Island. I love Blue Oyster Cult. Blue Oyster Cult, just a bunch of dudes They're just a bunch of like stoner dudes from Long Island who, like, they worked construction and they played in a bar band. And then, suddenly one of them dudes turned out he could write hit songs. And all of a sudden, they're Blue Oyster Cult. Probably most famous now for that Saturday Night Live sketch, More Cowbell. Yes, that was Blue Oyster Cult. Who else do we got? Now they're coming after my heart. Spin Magazine. Did not expect this. And yeah, this is a wildly underrated band, but I'm biased. I mean, I'm hyper familiar with them. Like, nobody else knows who this band is, but I do. I suppose me and Dave Grohl do, because doesn't Dave Grohl is the first concert Dave Grohl ever saw. It's what made Dave Grohl want to be a rock star when he went to the Cubby Bear in Chicago as a teenager and caught Naked Ray Gun. I remember Naked Ray Gun. Naked Ray Gun was big. Naked Ray Gun was big. Wax Trax era, big. It was like back in the era when punk rock was like scaring people. And we in Chicago, we actually had a punk rock band that people were talking about that seemed really great. They never went anywhere because they couldn't get along, but they were big. They were big locally. They were big. They're very well regarded in the punk world, in the alt rock world. A lot of alt bands are like, no, man, Naked Ray Gun was great. It says in 1982, the Chicago punks had the privilege of, look at this. This is how it starts. In 1982, these Chicago punks had the privilege of performing the first live show ever witnessed by Dave Grohl of Nirvana and current Foo Fighter. Although highly acclaimed in the Chicago music scene, the band failed to achieve significant success, possibly due to their inability to remain together. They did not like each other. Nevertheless, Naked Ray Gun remains a remarkable hidden gem of greatness from the punk and pre-alt era of the 1980s. Yeah. Naked Ray Gun. They're loud, they're fast, they're reckless. They were fun. Who else do we got here? What is this one? All right, underrated bands. Oh, here's another one coming for me, man. This is, I absolutely think this is an underrated band, but I think this is an underrated band because I think this is an underrated genre. I think there's an entire genre of music that occurred in the late 80s till about 1998 that isn't recognized. And in that genre, you've got bands like, I put the Replacements, the Jayhawks, who else? Well, this band for sure. Husker Du. Sugar later. That was Bob Mould of Husker Du. He then formed Sugar. Man, Husker Du was such a great band, such an amazing band. And I don't know how, I mean, there was just no radio to play that kind of music in 1991. So you had to go to college parties. You had to be a part of the bar scene. You had to go to the clubs and see, who's all excited? Who's coming? I don't know who Husker Du is. Let's see them. Oh, they're from Minneapolis. They're playing with this other band called the Replacements. I mean, it was a cool era. It was a cool era, and they were great. In the late 70s, Husker Du. In the late 70s, this well-known trio from the Twin Cities started out as a hardcore punk band. However, they later shifted towards an alternative sound that would go on to influence musicians such as Dave Grohl and Billy Corgan. The band's second album, Zen Arcade, 1984, was a double album. So arrogant. A double album that showcased the exceptional songwriting skills of guitarist Bob Mould. Bob Mould is a genius. If you don't appreciate the genius of Bob Mould and Paul Westerberg, I don't want to be around you. Paul Westerberg and Bob Mould. Let's see, what else do we have here? Screaming Trees. Is this the last one? Is Screaming Trees the last one? Screaming Trees make this list. The Lonigan Brothers. Screaming Trees came out of Seattle. They were a part of the great wave of new bands, new Seattle grunge bands. These guys were that. These guys were so on the nose with all of the grunge things as far as grunge banding go that I think they're forgotten. I think they've completely fallen into the background. I love the Screaming Trees. First of all, they're called the Scream. What a cool name for a band. They're called the Screaming Trees because when they first started playing together, one of their friends looked up on stage and said, "I don't like the songs. You guys look like a bunch of screaming trees up there." And he said Screaming Trees because everybody in this band is over 6'5". They're all like really big and they look like mountain men. Yeah, they have long hair, long Seattle grunge beards, head to toe in flannel and torn jeans. I mean, that was the Screaming Trees. I Nearly Lost You, I think, is their big one. That's probably the only hit song you might know. But if you want to jump in to hear some cool grunge that you may not have remembered from back then, Screaming Trees. All right, that's it. Those are all of them. Folks, thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. It is at past 2:00, which means I've got to get running. So, have a good weekend. I'm going to watch the race. I might watch in live stream. I don't know. I might midnight. I don't know. No, that won't work. Never mind. Stupid idea. I hate it. Get myself all excited over something and it's a stupid idea. Yeah, I got to take somebody to the airport and then I got to run. I got to run up north. I'm not going to be, my weekend isn't going to start till at least 8:00 tonight. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you on Monday. Or don't forget, if big breaking news occurs, I'll jump in. I'll jump in this weekend. Do breaking live coverage. That's what we'd like to do. So like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Follow, do whatever you need. That's it. I got nothing else. All right. Have a great weekend, you guys. I appreciate you. Be well. Bye.